Hey guys, hope you and your families are doing well. Any of you who have been trading a while have probably experienced this. You can go through periods of trading well, and then you can go through periods where you just seem out of sync. You seem in a bit of a rut. Things just aren't quite clicking. To use a baseball analogy, you're not quite hitting it out of the middle of the bat. And this is what this video is going to cover, because there are systems and processes around three key areas that I kind of think about. And if your systems and processes are off in either one of these areas, it can be very detrimental to your trading results, to your actual performance. So these areas are: number one, finding setups; number two is the mental side of things, so that is the trade execution and also your health; and then number three is the trade management aspect of it as well. So at the minute, I've just found myself, in terms of my own trading, in a little bit of a rut. Now there's a combination of things here. You can look at both yourself and think, well, am I off in any of these areas? Obviously you then have the large variable, which is the market environment you'll find yourselves in. So it's not necessarily always 100% you or 100% the market. Usually it is a combination of factors, especially if you're swing trading, say, around breakouts as well. Obviously you can be in more favorable market environments, you can be in less favorable in market environments as well. But in terms of taking full responsibility for your trading performance, I think it's better to go inward instead of outward and looking to blame external influences. So I'm going to be talking in this video a lot about systems and processes from my own standpoint, and hopefully you find that useful to think about your own systems and processes. What are you doing on a day-to-day basis to find setups, the mental side of things, so the trade execution, but also thinking about your health, your well-being, your mental state, and then obviously the trade management side of things as well. So we'll be talking about some Mark Douglas belief systems. Many of you have probably read his books, especially Trading in the Zone, The Disciplined Trader. I think they're very good books. So we'll be talking about some belief systems from there as well. Now, I've missed a fair few very good breakout setups this year in terms of stocks that got out very well. So I was wondering how I want to kind of film this video. How much depth do I want to go into in terms of the individual setups? Now, I'm sure you guys all know what is a good setup, what is not a good setup. So I'll just show you some of the ones that I have missed this year. You can see all the tabs loaded up here. There's been a fair few. So for me, it's then going back into myself and kind of thinking about things from a systems and processes standpoint across these three areas, and think, are there things that I'm not doing as well? Are there things when I'm trading really well that I'm doing, say, on a day-to-day basis, especially in terms of the mental side of things, the health side of things? Have I stopped doing those things? How am I managing the position? So let me just show you some of the trades that I've missed this year, and hopefully you guys have caught as many of these as you possibly can. But the first one here, this is Kaba. Stock powers up here, insider buying coming through, puts in this perfect trigger bar on the 10 EMA, then before closing below the 21 EMA, goes up around about 400%. That is a huge move there, and this can often be the difference as well to when you're laying in bed at night and you're thinking, like, I'm just not hitting it right, I'm not striking it right. I'm an avid golfer as well, so there can be some days where you are just, every iron shot you hit is just flush. You're hitting it in the middle, the trajectory is lovely, it's going where you want it to do. And then the perversity of golf, any of you golf, you can go to the driving range or on the course the next day and you're shanking it left, you're hooking it, you're doing all sorts, and it feels like you're not necessarily swinging any different, but things are just off. And that can kind of be the same with trading as well. But again, just trying to link it back to systems and processes. This is SV RA, lots of insider buying. This director was all over it, and the stock is currently up about 83%, and it's yet to close below the 21 EMA and built a nice base in here, got nice and tight in there. So I'll just whiz through these ones. This is AKRO, nice high tight flag, tightened up there. You can see the 1 hour chart on the left as well, super tight. So I'll just whiz through these. You can go and study them in your own time. This one here is ACVH, big move on volume, pulls back down, tightens up, trigger bar, and then the stock gets out, clear change character, but up 96%. This is 8080. IPO Chinese stock, builds a flag, tightens up, looks great on the 1 hour chart as well. Some more Chinese stocks. This is GoTo, so powers up here and then pulls back in, builds this really nice flag type pattern on the 1 hour chart, just textbook setup, and then the stock goes up 265%. Obviously up here you go low the day and choke it off. IQ, another Chinese stock, builds a little bit harder to identify this one in real time, but we'll then be talking about systems and processes side of things for identifying the setups and just staying on top of those, what I then do on a daily basis. I've been off my game, so we'll be talking about that. So Chinese stock made a decent move. Grill, more of a recent one here, nice flag type breakout, powering up there, 33%. I was looking at this one, looking at many of these, but not pulling the trigger. So that's then linking back to the mental side of things. A couple of semiconductor tech stocks. So Cirrus Logic, nice uptrend here, builds a perfect VCP on the 1 hour chart, just textbook powering up there. ALGM, this stock here, built a really nice cup and handle type pattern. See this nice cup and handle. There was some insider selling. I kind of talked myself out of this trade, but then on the 1 hour chart, see how textbook that is, powering up there. Stock's on a nice move. ACLS, this stock here, built a decent size base, showing a lot of relative strength. Semiconductor stock, I believe. You can see that 52-week highs on the RS line, and then just tightens up, little low pivot, inside bar in there, volume below the 30-day average. Nice setup. Then some oil and gas stocks. Missed some of these, even though I was looking at them. So again, systems and processes, thinking about those three areas that we'll come back to. So ticker 9 here. Builds a nice VCP, cup and handle. It's more of a VCP, isn't it? Volume dries up. Leading oil and gas stock, OII, similar as well. Just puts in this nice trigger bar sitting on the 1021 EMA. Strong RS line, positive reaction to the earnings. Didn't take it, even though it's setting up nicely on the 1 hour chart. Ticker Boom. This is more of a recent one. Gets really nice and tight there on the 1 hour chart on this trigger bar, and then starts powering out there. BYSI, there's been a couple on this one, and I taught myself out of them. So in terms of my systems and processes, a fair few of these have actually been on my radar, but it's been that middle part. It's been the mental part, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, actually, for things that I was doing on a day-to-day basis when I was trading really well, and then I've stopped doing it. Why? We'll be talking about that. So beyond spring, really nice flag type pattern over here. You can see the flag type pattern forming here, then it tightens up here again and pushes out, decent moves. Luna, this is one more recent. This goes to show some of the volatility around pivots at the minute, but on the 1 hour chart, look how this builds. Perfect flag, super duper tight. Stock powers up over 200% on a day, and then it rolls back down minus 75% the next day. But that there is one. Looked at it, but didn't pull the trigger. This one here is THRX. Really nice flag type pattern here. This is just absolutely textbook. See this? And it just gets super duper tight. It's textbook. It's perfect. This one here, this is Big Bear AI. So AI stocks are showing some strength at the minute. Stock powers up, pulls back down, maybe a little bit harder. This one, but pulls back down, gets nice and tight as it comes into the 10 EMA. It's this day here that we're looking at, and then it just tightens up nicely on the 1 hour chart as well. But let's just link back to it. And again, I want this video to help you in terms of thinking about your own systems and processes on a daily basis. What are you doing on a daily basis? And there were probably times where you just felt you were trading really well. And I just want to try and link it back to, there were probably certain things that you were doing on a day-to-day basis, and actually most of it may stem around the mental side. So the mental side and also the health side of things, the things as well. So in terms of finding setups, what do I do on a day-to-day basis? I look at heading into the last couple of hours of the market, the last hour, and then to kind of 3 hours past the market close. I'm looking through somewhere between 1,500 and 3,000 stocks. Now I have my own screener, so I can set my own criteria. And I clump them all together from various different scans, and I'm going through all of them, because if I'm targeting, I trade springs as well, but if I'm targeting breakouts, invariably I'm looking for stocks in powerful uptrends or have recently made a big move on volume, and then they are tightening up, building a VCP, a flag, cup and handle, Davis box, so on and so forth. So there's no real magic pill or shortcut there. It's about having the screens, combining them all, and then on a day-to-day basis looking through your list. Now your list may be a couple hundred stocks, maybe a couple thousand stocks like mine, but it's then going through and identifying those stocks as setting up and meeting your criteria. The thing that I think is probably the most challenging, because it takes the most amount of effort as well. And recently I found out that I have ADHD as well. So that isn't just a label for naughty boys in school. It's actually your brain is wired differently. And again, there's various spectrums of ADHD. So for me, actually dialing in the systems and processes side on the mental side of things and the health side of things. So I was thinking back when I was trading my best. What was I doing on a day-to-day basis? Now my life has changed fairly dramatically in recent years. Obviously, becoming a dad for the first time. Anyone who has a young child will know kind of your day-to-day routine can just go absolutely up in the air, especially in the early days. You can be sleep deprived as well. So some of those, not that I'm blaming Ella or anything like that, but some of those really good habits you may have had in place, they are up in the window. They are out of there. You're sleep deprived. You're feeling tired. You're trying to care for a newborn baby as well. You're trying to share the load as well with your significant other. So that there can break a lot of habits that you may have had. So then it's about getting those back. And actually, one thing that I've kind of realized in my trading since that time, moving house, doing other things like that as well, I haven't really got back to pre being a dad. Actually, haven't actually got back to the things that I was doing on a day-to-day basis of a couple of years ago. So for me, it's about thinking about, okay, what was I actually doing there when I felt like really good and I was hitting it in the middle of the bat. And you can probably relate to this. You have periods where you're just on it, you're feeling it, and then you have other periods where you're like, what am I doing? I feel so out of sync with the market. So for me, some of the things that I was doing from kind of a health and mental standpoint, and we'll talk about the Mark Douglas belief systems in a couple of minutes. I was exercising regularly every day. I had a alarm clock. So I would wake up pretty much the same time every single day as well. I would take cold showers every day. I would, as I said, I would exercise every day. I would get outside every day, whether that be on the golf course, whether that be going for a walk, going up to the moors, going up to the forest, going down to the beach, going along the estuary, whatever. I would be outdoors. In terms of then linking it a little bit more to trading, I was doing my deliberate practice every single day. So those bar by bar sessions, I was doing that once or twice every single day. And then I was kind of thinking about this and linking this back to sport, because that there, it was really kind of my grounding anchor, if you like. If you think about your favorite athlete, whether it be a tennis player, whether it be, say for me, very big sporting role models are the likes of a Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan had ADHD out of interest, Tiger Woods as well, so on and so forth. A lot of football players as well. They train and they practice deliberately every single day. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be putting a basketball in a hoop or kicking the ball in the back of the net. It can be other things such as stretching. It could be rehab work as well. So it's kind of thinking about those practice sessions. And there's a reason why these superstar athletes and these kind of superstar performers, they do certain things. They are practicing deliberately in various areas of the of their chosen endeavor. So for me, my deliberate practice was very much focused on that. The bar by bar stuff, that also kind of links back to again, I'm an avid golfer. So Tiger Woods, for his deliberate practice sessions when he's playing golf. For any of you who play golf, you may be able to relate back to this. But so when Tiger's at the range, Tiger thinks about it like this. He actually breaks it down. Let me try and draw this a little bit better. So when Tiger is at the range, and if you're not a golfer, this may still help you. So when Tiger's at the range, he imagines a grid like this, okay? He imagines a grid, and then what he's doing is, so you've got this here, so you've got a spot here, a spot here, a spot here, a spot here. So when Tiger's practicing, he's practicing with various different clubs, and he's hitting different shots. So he has this imaginary grid in front of him. So he's thinking about a course, and then he's thinking about different conditions. Maybe there's a wind coming in off the left or the right. Maybe he's playing into the wind, so he's got to keep it low. So when he's hitting various shots on the range, it's very deliberate what he's doing. He's visualizing it, and he's thinking, okay, I need to hit a fade here. I need to hit a draw. I need to hit his famous stinger shot. This one just needs to go straight. So on and so forth, right? You could have low fades, high fades, cuts, all sorts. So he's kind of every shot he takes, he's visualizing what it is he's trying to do. And that's very much when you're doing your bar by bar stuff and you're trying to identify setups, you're thinking about the management thing as well. And obviously you're getting wins, you're getting losses there, you're controlling it. You can then see the results coming in from a deliberate standpoint. You're creating feedback loops for yourself and going, yeah, this is working, that isn't working. So I think for me, I haven't done the bar by bar practice kind of religiously as much as I should. Maybe I've done it a handful of times this year. That's something I need to get back to on a daily basis. I was meditating a lot as well. I spent an hour a day, half an hour a day meditating and things like that. Or I just bought an ice bath to go in our garden, kind of Wim Hof breathing and stuff like that as well. So having kind of your mental side dialed in and giving yourself time to really work on yourself, work on improving yourself, both in terms of a trading standpoint, but also a mental health standpoint as well, I think is really key. And it's something that I haven't been doing, but now as I write here, the quote from James Clear, Atomic Habits, brilliant, but you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So it's thinking about your systems from a health standpoint, thinking about your systems also from a mental standpoint as well, because if you have poor systems in place, you're going to have poor performance in those specific areas. So if you have poor systems in place for finding setups, you're probably not going to find very good setups, or not kind of the best setups in the market on a consistent basis. If you have poor systems in place for your health, then obviously that's going to be very, very detrimental to your performance, whether you are an athlete or whether you are a trader as well, which you should really think about. You should really think about yourself as an athlete, which is what I used to do, just be absolutely dialed in on it. The nutrition side of things as well. That's something that, again, by not exercising things regularly, suddenly you start on a Friday night and a Saturday night, you have a pack of beers, you then feel kind of groggy and stuff like that. You're then not eating right, you're having pizza, you're then having kind of sweets or whatever as well, and just your diet's then going out the window. You then feel lethargic, which then means you're even less likely, and it's just a vicious cycle going down. So you'll probably relate to that as well. The trade management side of things, I've got that fairly dialed in at the minute, to be honest with you, in terms of how we think about things. In terms of the identify, the control, the mitigate, and the optimize as well. But I've been missing some of the best ones, and actually, what's been quite interesting is some of the best setups of this year in the past 3 months or so. I know Kaba kind of started in November, December, and then made its run into 2023. Is you tend to get kind of some fear and doubt and hesitation around targeting some of the setups, and you can almost try too hard. If it sounds a little bit perverse, you can almost try too hard. And any of you have played sport or something like that as well, and it doesn't necessarily have to be kind of football or rugby or something like that. It could just be tennis with a mate. It could be snooker. It could be you're an amateur golfer or something like that as well. What I found, and if I link it back to golf as well, I can also link it to football. I play football at a fairly high level. Is when I play my best golf, when I play my best football, I'm not really thinking about things too much. I have kind of an intention for this is what I want to do, but I don't then really think about the doing process. Don't know if any of you have seen the Maverick film, the Tom Cruise film. But he says in the film, and I think it's really interesting, I was actually then linking it back to trading, he says, don't think, just do. I thought that was quite interesting, because in trading, you do want to do a lot of thinking in terms of, and the things you can kind of then, how I then kind of think about it, is you're thinking in terms of the setup, and is this setup meeting your criteria? So in terms of the chart pattern, the relative strength as well. And for those of you that do this, you'll know that the amount of things that you're trying to keep inside of your head, you've got thousands of stocks to choose from. So you're then thinking about each of those stocks potentially from a trading standpoint. Those stocks are then in sectors, those stocks are then in groups as well. So not only are you thinking about the individual stock, you're thinking about the sector. Is the sector strong? Is it showing relative strength? Is the stock showing relative strength? Are there brother sister stocks which are stronger than this stock? Is this stock a leader? Is it a laggard within the group? What is the industry group doing? And then you're factoring in, okay, what are the fundamentals? Is it meeting the can slim criteria? Do you have kind of triple digit sales or triple digit earnings coming through? High quality growth funds in there, so on and so forth. The estimates for the next couple of years. You're then looking at, is there insider buying? Is there a lot of insider selling? You're then looking at broker price targets coming out. So if you think about that kind of, it's like a matrix, isn't it? It's like a web. There are so many things going on inside of your head in terms of the actual identifying part. So this is all then in terms of the finding setups part. But then when you go down to kind of the mental part and the health part, certainly kind of the mental part and thinking about a trade management standpoint, you almost then, when you reach the point of going, this setup here meets my criteria, that's almost when, for me, and this is something that I'm proactively working on as well, that's almost when the thinking has to stop. So the thinking stops and the doing comes in. The doing and the being side of things comes in. And if you're then trying to overthink it, you can be talking yourself out of trades very, very easily, because not only do you have all of these stocks and all of those variables in terms of sector, market, industry group, fundamentals, insider buying, selling, you then also have I don't even know how many there are in terms of how many would be taken in, but you've got all of the candlesticks or bars. If you're using bars, you've got the volume as well, and you don't just have it on one specific time frame, you have it across multiple time frames as well. So you may be looking at a combination of the monthly chart, the weekly chart, the daily chart, and the 1 hour chart. Potentially you're going lower than that. I don't go any lower than the 1 hour chart, otherwise I find that there's a lot of noise. So then you have all of this information going on in your head across multiple time frames for thousands and thousands of stocks. There is a lot that you are taking in. If you're trading and you're doing this at a high level on a day-to-day basis, mentally there is a lot that you are having to take in, process, keep inside of your head as well. You're then holding kind of a conflicting viewpoint as well, because you can have negative information. Obviously there's going to be negative information. You take a look at Kaba here, well, this is a red bar, so technically negative information. This is a red bar as well, technically negative information. Price was going down here, technically negative information. So was this. So it's how you are then perceiving the information as well, and being able to see, okay, supply's coming, demand stepping back in, telling yourself the story. There's a lot, right? You can see that there's a lot. So actually, if you're not dialed into, and arguably the most important part is this part here, it's the second part, it's the mental side of things, and it's the health side of things. As well. So when you get to the point of you've really thought it through and you go, this is a good setup, then it's trying to transition to now just doing it, being with it, and just accepting the trade, accepting the risk, not acting out of fear that this has to be right, this has to work. And oftentimes when you think from that standpoint of, I really want this to work, what is actually the emotion that you have there? This is then quite interesting. When you start diving down that rabbit hole, and certainly for me and the kind of position I'm in as well, is when you start thinking about that I really want this to work, what are you actually saying? That you're really scared this isn't going to work. So actually you're operating from a fear-based mindset there. Your default is actually fearful, and that's something that I'm recognizing. When I look at a trade, I really want it to work, rather than just fully accepting it and going, and these are the Mark Douglas belief systems. I don't agree with the third one entirely, but his belief systems is anything can happen. So when you've identified it, and then you get to the point where, okay, you're then thinking about putting the trade on, it's then moving into that and going, well, anything can happen. So every setup, anything can happen. So you take Luna for instance, okay? Luna here. Anything, this is a recent example, anything can happen. This stock could go up 200 and nearly 250% the next session, and then the next session be down 75%. You probably wouldn't have thought that was possible, but it is possible because it happened, and it happened recently, and it happens a lot. So it is just accepting that anything can happen. I don't know what is going to happen, but understanding anything can happen. Every moment, number two, every moment in the market is unique. There is never going to be a moment like this again for this specific stock, with these buyers and sellers involved, for the price action that has gone previously, for the moment in time in the market, everything else that is going on. This is never going to happen again. This situation is absolutely unique. And number three, which I do not entirely agree with, is an edge is nothing more than an indication of a higher probability of one thing happening over another. And that there shouldn't be a space between over another. I won't change it, but over another. And I actually think, for me, I think the reward to risk ratio is much more important than the winning percentage of trades. So I don't agree that the edge is nothing more than an indication of a higher probability of one thing happening over another, because for me personally, I'm wrong on more than 50% of the trades I take. It's more closer to kind of 30-40% when I'm hitting it well. In a really good market environment, maybe it's closer to 50, but a higher probability of one thing happening over another, I don't agree with that statement. I think reward to risk is more important than percentage of winning trades, because you could have a 99% win rate, but if you're blowing up on the 1% of trades and you're taking a 100% loss on that trade, and you have your entire account in it, you are not going to get very far at all. There is a random distribution. So number four, there is a random distribution between wins and losses on any given set of variables that define an edge. So this is the mentality of going into the trade and going, well, this stock here, it may go up 100%, it may go up 426%, it may go up 4%, it may go up for 2% and then reverse back down. And this is the random distribution of wins and losses. In poker, it is known as lady luck, so i.e. variance, that you could trade this setup here 100 times and maybe 40 times it works, maybe 50 times it works. It was a very good setup indeed. But on those winning times, and again, think about this across different stocks, of those 100 times, let's say it's got a 40% win rate, so you're going to have 40 winning trades. Not all 40 winning trades are going to go up 426% before it closes below the 21 EMA. Some of them may go up 1,000%, some of them may go up 426%, some of them may go up 40%, some of them may go up 4%, and that there is the random distribution between wins and losses. And it's about putting yourself in front of these high quality setups and then allowing that random distribution to play out. Obviously controlling your risk, thinking about the reward to risk ratio, and trying to capture these very large asymmetric risk versus reward trades, which for me, I'm an intermediate term trend follower. So then my trade management is trying to ride the 10 EMA with part, trying to ride the 21 EMA with part as well. If the 50's there and I think it's going to be a bit of a slower mover, potentially I'll use the 50 SMA for part as well. If I think it gets really short-term extended, then I'll be choking it off, lower the bar, lower the bar, lower the bar. But for me, I'm an intermediate term trend follower, so it's trying to capture that intermediate term trend, which again, I never have any idea whether it's going to be a couple 100%, whether the stock is going to go up 200% and then down 75% the next day. No idea. And that is then linking back to those other points. Anything can happen. Every moment in the market is unique. Just accepting it. And then number 5, I don't need to know what is going to happen next in order to make money. You don't need to know. You are not going to know either. But again, a lot of us, when we're in kind of these mental ruts, as I'm in at the moment, when you're in these mental ruts, you want to know what is going to happen next. And it's there's a really good quote. I can't remember where I heard it, but the most engaged but the least attached wins, which is really interesting from a psychological standpoint. So what it's basically saying is, be fully engaged in the process, but have no attachment to whatever the outcome is going to be. Just accept whatever the outcome is before the outcome even happens. And again, these things are easy to say, they're harder to do on a day-by-day basis. Appreciate that. I'm a walking example of that at the minute as well. So then what's quite frustrating, and again, some of you guys are probably self-aware enough to know that there are certain things to be doing on a day-to-day basis, such as whether it be your exercise in the morning, your meditation, your cold showers, or your cold plunge, the execution side of things as well, accepting the trade before you put it on. So if you're self-aware enough to know you should be doing certain things on a day-to-day basis, and then you're not doing them on a day-to-day basis, that there is where you can get into a great deal of frustration and being frustrated in terms of your own actions and towards yourself as well, which obviously then if you're frustrated and you're angry at yourself, that kind of vicious spiral just continues and it gets worse and worse and worse. So it's actually trying to break out of that, be a little bit kinder to yourself, start thinking about the things that you want to do on a daily basis, try and build habits around that. It's actually harder when you have ADHD as well, which I'm finding out with my brain that there's things I should be doing, but I'm not doing them on a daily basis, and then you get frustrated at yourself that you should be doing them, but you're not doing them. So linking that back to, and I've gone off on a tangent there, but I don't need to know what's going to happen next in order to make money, which is then kind of accepting the random distribution of wins and losses. That I know the setup, I've studied tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of these setups, so I know what the setup is, but I don't know what's going to happen next, and I don't need to know what is going to happen next to make money on these setups. I just need to accept it and allow the random distribution between wins and losses to play out, manage my risk, try and capture the intermediate term trend. So I probably rambled on for long enough there, guys. I hope you find value or help in that video somewhere to kind of think about your own self. Especially, you may be trading fantastically well at the minute, you may just be hitting everything out of the middle, you're in a very nice sweet spot, but there's going to come a time where you fall out of that and you're in a little bit of a rut. So then I would encourage you, which is what I'm doing, about thinking about the systems and processes you have in place, because you may have goals to do this or do that, but you're going to fall, as James Clear says, you fall to the level of your system. So just be thinking about, if you get into that kind of harder time, think about your systems. Think about your systems across these 3 areas as well. And it's maybe one of your systems has deteriorated, and that's bringing down your performance as well. But I think one that is not talked about very much is the mental side and the health side of things, and really think about your systems and processes. For me, I can see that there was a lot that I was doing when I was trading very well that I've stopped doing, so it's things that I need to start getting back into, doing it on a day-to-day basis, building those habits, building those kind of positive just positive vibes, basically positive energies, being happy, having kind of day-to-day momentum, stacking those small wins on a day-to-day basis. So I'm now proper rambling, so thank you very much if you made it to the end of this video, and I hope you found it useful, and I'll see you in a future one.